Hello, everybody, and welcome to the debut of the Spring Endurance Series for the GRG eSports. The first race will be the 6 Hours of Suzuka, and today we are setting the grid for that race. We have a 5-minute free practice here that we're currently watching, and then we're going to progress into two 20-minute qualifying sessions, one for GT4, one for GT3. The GT3s will go last, and it'll wind up being an exciting qualifying race for the pole, we hope. In this one. Appreciate all of you for already being in the stream, being here, with a few of you have already followed to start off this race. Of course, the Spring Endurance Series, this is a 3-race championship that will be scoring points, and in these races, there are 2 6 hours and 1 4 hour, and the 2 6 hours, of course, you score points twice in those races, so it's effectively a 5-race championship taking place on 3 days, and it's going to be a really fun one. Here in the booth with me, we have the Dom Bessel with us, ready to run some laps and see who's going to be starting up front come next Saturday, February 12th.
I assume I'll be running laps. I don't think I'll be able to get anywhere near to the pace of these guys out there. But yeah, as you say, the first of our seasonal or seasoned based championships. So it's going to be an interesting start. Obviously, Suzuka, fan favorite. I don't know. I seem to get mixed reviews for Suzuka. You either love it or hate it. But it'll be good to see how everyone cracks on with this. Good, healthy field in GT3 as always. Obviously, GT4s is you sort of do, you sort of don't. We have lost a GT4 that was always with us the entirety of last year, and that was the more father-son pairing that was always in the M4 GT4. Now they've graduated as such to the M4 GT3, so be looking out for them in the GT3 class now.
Yeah, obviously having more cars in the GT3, that BMW M4 with its enticing ground effects setups, and lured them in to go and run, and they're going to try to take that title fight that they got last year for the entire year, and they're going to try to challenge that in the Spring Endurance Championship. Of course, these races will be having a cash prize to the winner of each class as well. And so it was kind of surprising to me that we didn't see the Moore family team stick it out in GT4 just to maybe have a chance at a free bit of money. But sticking it up out in the GT3s, they're going to try to challenge with these top guys we see each and every week, always pushing it as hard as they can. Coming down with just 2 minutes left in free practice, and then we will progress into that GT4 session, of course, that we were talking about. Anybody who is in here and does have any questions regarding the championship or anything like that, feel free to put them in the Twitch chat. Again, I'm sure that the GT4 session won't be overly exciting, as we only have a couple of cars that will be running, and so we will be free, I imagine, to talk a lot about a lot of different things regarding ACC, new updates, new features, and our plans with GRG going forward. Obviously, there's some big news for us to throw out that we'll probably mention during that session as well. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting day for all of us.
Yeah, after kicking off our year with the Zandvoort race last month out, that was an interesting race. I'm glad it rained for that. Made it a bit more exciting, obviously, with the last 5 minutes as well. That was a bit of a chaotic race. And, hopefully, we'll see not so much the same chaos, but the same levels of excitement next week. But obviously, we do have to set that grid first with pre-practice coming to a close. We have a few cars out on track. Obviously, not everyone wanting to waste away their tires or anything, and a few people just getting their hands back into the track, which is at a fast state right now. So it's pretty much optimal conditions, 35 degrees. So they should be pretty happy out there. It's not too challenging at all, especially compared to last month. It should be pretty easy in comparison.
As you mentioned with wasting the tires away, there is only 2 tire sets available during the full session. So for free practice and your qualifying run, you only have 2 fresh set of tires. So these cars that are running laps here in free practice are effectively scuffing a set of tires for qualifying. And it's a really interesting tactic, but also it could help them, right, in terms of just having that little bit extra context for their one qualifying run come their session in GT3 as the time is running out. We have plenty of new teams here, teams that either haven't previously raced with us or teams that, as you mentioned, have made a shift from GT4 to GT3 or even in reverse. So there's going to be a lot of inexperience on the racetrack, and it's going to be fun to watch how some of these drivers go and tackle the qualifying sessions being set up like such. So we are now into qualifying 1. This will be the GT4 session at the moment. I believe that we only have 1 in the server. I don't know what happened to the other GT4. It was in here.
We're just gonna watch Dawson the entire time. Well, actually, it says Richard. I've got 2 different names right now.
Yes,
for the
I think that they may have performed a driver swap. The one that will be correct is the one that's in your bottom right of the screen. So those of you who are watching on the Twitch, the one that is on the position banner in the bottom right, that is the correct name that's actively in the car. The one that's on the scoring pylon is who was in the car the last time it crossed the start-finish line, or last time it crossed the Sector 1 scoring line. So
I guess all eyes are on this 76, the only GT4. We got 20 minutes of filler basically until Richard does go out. Only needs to set 1 lap, and he will have pole. So pretty easy task for him.
Go ahead, and we'll have a little bit of a track walk then while we are waiting.
Oh, he's going. Here we go. And the way the lonesome GT4 goes.
There we go. Starting on pole. Immediately blows the pit exit.
Yep, there's a warning right there.
Yep.
Ethan will be on that straight away. As always, the ever-lovable Ethan as a steward. He's always been for the last year and a half, if not 2. He's our head steward, which means there is unlike the FIA, F1, where they rotate their stewards. There's always consistency because it's the same guy making the decision half the time. At least he is the head one, and he sort of forwards it on to the rest of the stewards. So there's at least some consistency there, but I don't know if he'll have too much to do today. Probably more so next week. He'll be preparing himself, probably.
Yeah, I mean, today, especially with the way that this GT4 session is at the moment, there's not a ton of information to for him to try to pertain and report. But obviously, it's unfortunate to traditionally see these GT4 grids be so small. I mean, obviously, we all want as much of a multi-class feel as possible here. In GRG, that's what we strive for. We want multi-class racing. We want endurance racing. We want respect between classes. But obviously, there's a bad name for multi-class racing. Lots of GT3 drivers feel that GT4s often disrespect them, and then a lot of GT4 drivers often feel like GT3 drivers are always dive bombing them, causing wrecks and incidents that don't need to happen. When in reality, it's kind of somewhere in between in most cases. And obviously here we run under a different rule set than most places do, and our goal is to have clean multi-class racing, and we punish multi-class incidents harder and more stricter than any other incident. If you're racing for a position and a little bit of contact happens, that's not really a big deal, right? It happens, it's racing. Sometimes it'll happen. But if you're not racing for position, you're overtaking a GT4 car and a little bit of contact happens, well, that doesn't need to happen. That's entirely unnecessary, right? There's no reason to be pushing it that hard for something that you're not racing for position. And so we always judge these incidents with a lot more severity, and but it is hard to convey that to people that we do want and pursue clean respectful multi-class racing here in GRG. We're going to ride on board here with the 76, Richard in the car. I do know that this is a new team to ACC. This will actually be their first time really doing a proper race. So,
Ooh,
and
not ideal for your first weapon, especially when literally everyone is watching you because no one else has anyone to watch.
Yeah, it definitely Suzuka with this Camaro. I've done some laps here earlier this week in a couple different cars. This Camaro is awful here. It is just outright awful. It is such a hard car to get under wraps consistently around this racetrack, just because it's a lot of high speed, kind of just momentum based corners, and that's just not what this Camaro is good at. So it really struggles, especially through the first sector. It's so hard to get it consistent, and it's really rough. So it's definitely one of those cars that I feel like for the first timers it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them, but hopefully they'll be able to get it underway and be able to run a more consistent race come race day. Which we will have multiple GT4s come race day. At the moment, it's just one for qualifying, but I do believe that we have 3 or 4 who are signed up, and I hope to see a couple more join in throughout the week. But yeah, it's going to be a long race for a lot of these teams. They're going to have a struggle to find, and as mentioned in chat, every car feels that way here. Yeah, I mean, kinda, but this Camaro definitely feels it more. Cars like the Porsche feel pretty solid around here. The McLaren feels pretty good around here. But whenever you get these big front-engined, burly V8 cars like the Camaro, like the AMG Mercedes, like the BMW, like all these cars, they definitely are going to struggle a bit more, which is why I was so surprised to see this grid so full of front-engine cars, because this is a track that's designed for mid-engine cars, plain and simple. It's just what it's designed for. So, seeing a lot of these front-engine, big cars, heavy cars, did surprise me to see it on the grid. What we have? We have like 3 McLarens, a Porsche, and a Lamborghini, and that's, I think, it for non-front-engine cars. Twitch link on the announcement is wrong. In the Discord?
It is. Yes. In the announcements, there's 1 extra W that shouldn't be there.
Oh yeah, you would be correct.
Yeah. Quadruple W. Hey ho. I mean, people are pretty smart enough and can figure out what's wrong. But nonetheless, here still with Richard. Basically, like you say, it's going to be a glorified test session, not just qualifying, but the race as well. Obviously, Delta Squad, new to ACC. I think this is their first major 6-hour, major endurance as they blow the hairpin, unfortunately, there.
I do know they have a special livery plan for this car, which I look forward to seeing come race day.
Of course, no skin pack open or out just as yet. That'll be released on Wednesday or Thursday, one or the other. So, come the actual race, we'll see all the cars proper with their wonderful liveries. Lots of hours been put into those, but yeah, back to this Camaro. Like you say, it's a unusual choice in GT4, especially for this circuit. They certainly haven't made their debut any easier by choosing this car. But I think I saw on one of the Discord channels a few days ago that they just want to, have a bit of fun, learn, and just get used to doing endurances, doing long periods of time behind the wheel. So if anything's going to teach them, it probably will be this Camaro. Once again, this won't be a valid lap after the hairpin incident, but we'll stay on board as always, or off board, or whatever camera case is chosen. I'm not sure.
We're sitting on the track side.
Somewhere. As we go once again for the third attempt, I believe this will be at a lap. So coming down into turn 1 and 2, possibly. I'm not sure if it is 1 or 2 corners they call it. But long right-hander that gradually gets slower as you go through the second part of it. Easy to drift wide onto that green AstroTurf and spin yourself around there and coming up through the S's section. Probably one of the most favourite bits of track anywhere, on any track, depending on the car you're in, especially if you're in the Formula 1 car. You're going to have a lot of fun through these S's. GT cars, maybe GT4s, especially as you say, Case, with the front engine nature, you can sort of see the inherent understeer that this car has coming through it, and it's a bit of a waiting game. You've got to be patient as you get your way through those S's, coming over the rise, down into the two Degners then and past Sector 1. So the first one, nice and easy, just bobble the curb on the right hand side as they do there. You see quite a big bobble there, with probably a wheel coming off the ground there, and through the second Degner, hit the curb nice and easy. Coming up to the kink before the hairpin. I've crashed here a few times. I've taken someone else out here a few times before, but coming into the hairpin, gets it stopped nice and easily to the apex nice and early as well, keeping it conservative on the power. And then this nice long right-hander, nondescript, put the power down, turn with the corner, and that's pretty much it. Before that, get yourself to the right-hand side before spoon. Again, similar to turn 1, you got sort of 2 stabs at it. The first apex quicker than the second, but it's a lot more of a tightening corner. As you see there, they run out of road quite quickly as the second part of the corner tightens up on you. Back straight now, which is, you know, sort of a straight but isn't. Before coming to 130 hours, it's pretty fun in the GT3, but the GT4s do understeer quite considerably at the highest speeds, and you can see that here coming in down the gear as well, mounting the curb to make sure they get through that corner. Coming up to the final sequence then, the Casio triangle chicane, braking nice and early, hobble over 1 curb, 2 curb, and probably the 3rd curb on exit, so 1, 2, and will they use the 3rd? Not this time. Fair enough. Event back on the power, downhill, shortest line to the line is the quickest line, and across the line. Was that a lap time? Or was it invalidated? Or was the line down here?
The line is down here for the GT. There it
I
goes.
thought it'd be earlier, to be honest. I thought it was the F1 line.
In the times that I was able to manage, which Grant, I'm
there
no
we go, 2:19 on the board, so we finally have the one and only time we'll see from GT4. They've got 8.5 minutes to improve that time. We'll see whether or not they can do that. Well done, Case. You've been having a good time.
I was muted on Discord.
There we go. We have a lap time.
Yes, we do have a lap time. The line's a bit further down in the GT cars. It does not use the earlier one.
F1 time. Yeah.
And yeah, in the laps I was able to set in this Camaro earlier this week, the best that I was able to find out of this car was like a mid 215, and that was on like race pace. So, and I know that this team can get down there. They've run laps like that so far this week. But it's just a matter of, you know, track conditions, how they have the car set up, you know, and all those type of things kind of all boiling into one moment. Obviously, this track is at 35 degrees Celsius. It's nowhere near that whenever it's going to come to race day temp. So their setup and tire pressures could be a bit high right now, which, as we all know in ACC, tire pressures are key. If your tire pressures are not correct, then you're not going to set a good lap. You're not going to have a good driving car. It's just tire pressures are step number 1 whenever it comes to having a drivable car in ACC. And so if they set up their car for what race conditions were during the practice sessions, well, the track was at 21 degrees Celsius. So now we're at 20 or 35 degrees Celsius. I mean, those tire pressures could be bubbling up 3-4 psi more than what you would think. I mean, it is that dramatic, especially in these GT4 cars. You know, if you're running at 29 psi and you're supposed to be at 26 and a half, well, that car is not going to have any sort of fun driving. And as you're mentioning, with all the understeer into oversteer moments, well, bad tire pressures is definitely a key part of that.
Yep, certainly a learning curve as they dive into the pits. Get themselves on the pit speed limiter a little bit early. And you see the red markers there are the signal of the start of the pit lane, but obviously no one else on the track. It doesn't really matter. I assume they won't go out again. That's their one lap. They're happy with it. And, well, they have pole, so there's literally no other need to go out. They could have done an entire lap on the pit speed limiter, and they still have pole, quite frankly. So that's their day done, and now we've got to talk about Summit for 6 minutes.
Well, they do appear to actually be pulling into the stall here. As they drive through our field of GT3s. I mean, you can see just how good looking that this field of GT3s were. I wish I was a button where I didn't have to go into this menu. But, I mean, although having only the 1 or 2 GT4 is a bit of a disappointment, this field of GT3s is not. I mean, we have a good variety of cars. Obviously, there's a lot of BMWs across the board, which we can all expect to see in every ACC race at this point going forward. But we do have a good variety of cars, a couple of front-engine Mercedes in there, a couple of Nissan in there. It's nice to see the Japanese representation here. Of course, the one Porsche. There's a Lexus down the board here. And then the Mercedes to tail off the end. It's going to be a fun qualifying session with those cars, I think. They're going to be able to set some pretty solid laps, I would believe, and we should have tight competition at the top. As they elected to do a driver swap here, let Jared Dawson get a couple laps in under the car and see what he thinks of the current track conditions, and maybe, you know, like you said, a little bit of a learning experience. Obviously, the race day will be transition, so it will go from 2 a.m. until 8 a.m. in game. And so we should go through a sunrise phase, and the track will warm up pretty dramatically. So although it probably won't be this hot at any point in the race, it is good information to get some data on a used track at higher temps, and kind of be able to take that and process it into usable data on race day.
Exactly, and like you said, tire pressures is crucial in this game, more so than probably any other game out there, and probably more so than half the setup work you do on the cars. We have a spin.
Ooh.
Unfortunately for Jared,
Getting those burnouts.
Similar mistake to his teammate, but stopping before the barriers, thankfully in this instance. He will get to the line in time to attempt the one lap. We'll see whether or not he can beat his teammate. That's probably what it is. They probably said, "Oh, well, we'll have a lap each and see who can go quickest." They'll have a bit of fun between themselves, but also a little bit of learning as well. And not quite sure what sort of testing they've been doing in the weeks prior to this, whether or not any of them have even bothered with qualifying pace. They could have all been doing high fuel long runs. We don't really know, but let's see what Jared here has to offer. Like you said, you were able to get a 215, and you've seen this times before, but obviously dependent on the track temps and conditions and how the track is, and also when you're on the private server, or at least on our test server, there isn't really an audience. Right now we have all the GT3s watching and all the people in the Twitch chat watching as well. So there may be a little bit of pressure there, knowing that they are kind of being watched and observed by us and the rest of the community. But let's see, taking the short line to the line. The line is on the other side for turn 1, so I'm curious as when we're going over to the racing line. There we go, lovely, and we'll do this again. 2.5 minutes on the clock, so they might even be able to get a second lap in if they don't make a mistake on this one. Does Jared neatly through 1 and 2? I'm assuming that is 2 corners, but I really don't know.
Yeah, I actually do not know myself either as to how it is officially qualified, whether it's classified, whether it's 1 or 2, 1 and 2, or if it's just 1, like 1A and 1B. Well, I'm gonna trust Gavin on this one. It says it is just 1 corner. I'm gonna trust him on this one. So it is 1A and 1B.
F1 calls it 2, so.
Then again, though, F1 does a lot of things wrong. But
yeah, they call it 2 on their official map. They call it 18. There's 18 turns apparently at this track. We've gone to it. But looking at other track maps, the first corner is literally called first corner. So great.
Now, what about isn't this long right-hander a radius-based name as well? Because obviously we have 130R, which is 130-degree radius. I think that this long right-hander before Spoon
this is also 200R.
Yeah.
Yes, 200.
That's what I thought. Because it is just over 180 degrees, I suppose. Although on the track map it doesn't look as such.
I'm getting a variety of different sources, both in chat and on Google, saying a variety of different things. But
Ethan's applied a bogus track map then. That is fair. Ethan always puts one in race control. Down into the final chicane, Casio. Obviously, lots of iconic moments at Casio throughout the years. And we got to wonder if we'll see something similar, possibly next weekend, happen here. Suzuka is a track that's full of iconic moments. Whether you love this track or hate this track, there's so much history here, so much, just so many dramatic moments, and especially in F1 that have just kind of turned the tide of the future in all those moments. They're moments that literally changed the history of motorsport.
Well, it's what happens when you have a good final venue for a season, Suzuka, Interlagos. You get these sorts of conflicts and things happening when you have, Abu Dhabi. Not really going to happen.
Don't hate on Abu Dhabi. The track is fine. F1's the problem.
Hot lap. I'll happily hot lap that place in any car, but racing, not so much. Dawson unable to go quicker, was 9/10 slower than his teammate come the end of his lap, unfortunately. Well, I say unfortunately, they have pole, but for the inter-team rivalry, I'm sure he'll be a little bit disappointed with that. As we wait for this session to tick over, we'll get on with the big boys, with the GT3s.
Yep, we, of course, we had multiple laps set there to kind of rubber in the racetrack, perhaps, for these GT3s. Going to kind of help them have their opportunity now to maybe have a little bit more grip come their session and really be able to try to push on and find that pace. It's going to be a fun session. These GT3s, I mean, you see them all. They're loading in their setups. They're kind of getting everything ready to go. The cars are kind of bouncing on the line as we're looking over here at the race. Obviously, we will be racing on February 12th, 2022. So in a week's time, we will be running our 6 Hours of Suzuka, which is round 1 of the Spring Endurance Championship, which is a 3-race championship consisting of Suzuka, Bathurst, and Imola. All 3 are DLC tracks for ACC. Obviously could be playing a part as well in the slightly smaller grids in GT4, although GT4 in of itself is a DLC, so that is also in of itself playing a part in the smaller grids in GT4. Going to be a 3-race championship, and the winner will get a prize pool based on the total number of signups. At the moment, we have enough signups for it to be $30 for each class between GT4 and GT3. However, if we do break 60 total signups, it will go up to $75 for each class. So we're going to go ahead and get switched back over here and watch the cars roll out. GT3.
Indeed, they came out like an absolute train. As soon as that session ticked over, as soon as they could click drive, they were all on it. It's an absolute train, all the way from Degner 2 now coming up to the hairpin. There's an absolute train all the way down to the end of the S's. About 14, 15 cars there most likely. It's the vast majority of the GT3s all together. So trying to find a bit of track space is going to be crucial. Obviously this track's quite long compared to Zandvoort. You're certainly not going to get bubbled up, and you're certainly not going to be fighting for track position as much as you were at that track. But still, if you have a look at the hairpin right now, it's congested. It is a traffic jam, and they need to find their own little bit of tarmac so they can all play nice together.
Yeah, you gotta wonder if we're gonna see something similar to what we watch happen in F1, where coming down the final straightaway, that they kind of all start slowing down, kind of form up a queue, and then just let one car go at a time. But obviously here for the DSRT team, the number 1, they are obviously they took the championship last year, hence probably why they're running the number 1 this time around to kind of represent that. They're going to get out first, and they're going to be the first ones to be able to try to set a valid lap. So they're going to have the clean air in front. They're just behind them is a McLaren, which is going to be trying to tightly chase them and use that slipstream and perhaps gain just a little bit of advantage over that BMW, which we all know is currently the meta OP car in ACC. But looking to try to disrupt that flow is about half the grid here in this race. So at least it's not a full grid of nothing but BMWs, as now for that 858 being behind the BMW is actually hurting them after a bad run through turn 1. Actually is kind of checking up the McLaren through the S's. You can kind of see the difference in where these cars find their pace, right? The BMW so good under at hitting curbs and super good with top speed and stuff like that. But then you got the McLaren, which will be so much better through the S's and will be so much better at just the transitional pieces of this racetrack, which there's just so many of around Suzuka. Obviously, one of the only figure of 8 racetracks in the world, and of course the only one that finds its way into the FIA Grade 1 spec. So it's a track that crosses itself over a lot, super loopy, lots of off-balance corners, lots of turning while braking, among other things. And so perhaps having a car that just has a little bit more balance under it is good to have. And so the grid being split as it is, again, it still surprised me to see so many BMWs taking over the field, but the car is definitely at the top of class in this game at the moment. It's again way wide. The 858 is going to try to find his way through on the 1, but just getting held up. There he is, trying to give himself a little bit of a queue space now. The first valid laps are going to come through this time around. And obviously for a short moment on pole will be Eric Moik in the DSRT RJB Solutions car. The 2:03.4. Not really sure what a proper fast time is in the GT3s. I think it's down in the low 202s, like low to mid 202s. Obviously track conditions right now, track is hot. It's not quite optimal grip levels as the Lamborghini now goes to the top, taking over the pole. And then now there goes Bauer, a 2:01.7, just crushing a lap.
Yeah, well, scrap the low 202s, rolled into the 201s. If that's someone's banker lap or first lap out, expect that to come down by at least 4 to 5 tenths of a second. So, yeah, we could be on the bubble for a 201 dead or so, but we'll have to wait and see. See what sort of track space, and make sure people don't get caught out by a spinning car or a yellow flag. It's easier said than done when you're trying to set a lap around a place such as Suzuka. That first sector is very much congested right now.
From what I can see and find, it seems like the absolute alien times around the racetrack are in the high 158s, low 159s. Those are the absolute alien laps on a perfect track and such. Obviously, I doubt that we are ever going to see that type of lap in this session, but we'll be curious to see if we can get down towards that 1 minute mark or the 2 minute mark in this race. Then, so scrap my low 202s. That was kind of what I was setting in a lap time. So, throw out any chance of me being competent around Suzuka. As we continue to watch all these cars, you can see the track map over on the right side there, just absolutely filled all along in the final sector. However, now the 94 is sitting completely alone in Sector 1. It is the only car featured in Sector 1. So perhaps for some of these guys, you almost got to wonder, do you just pull off the track, go back to the pits, and just sit in that huge clean air bubble that's there? I mean, there's an entire sector with nobody in it.
If you're not the 858 or the 94, you've got someone around you that's likely in front of you. And that could be a distraction, but if you're maybe a slightly slower driver, you may be using them as a tow. So you may actually strategically put yourself behind who you might deem to be a faster car. Maybe you can just stay within their wheel tracks to help them pull you along. But under most circumstances, you want to have a bit of empty space. There's times coming down. It's a 201.1 now, so we're almost looking on that 201 dead, and then into the noughts themselves, Gavin Moore, the 24 then. topping the timesheets. Currently, BMW 123, followed by 2 McLarens and a Lamborghini. Your top 6 currently. Everyone coming across the line. We've got 15 lap times on the board. Now we're waiting for another 5 to finish their laps and get their times up on the tower. But just, even if you run a little bit wide, it's very easily done here. It's the old school circuit. There's no runoff really, apart from I think Spoon has some runoff, some tarmac runoff, that is. Everywhere else, I'm pretty sure, and Aussie 130R. Everywhere else is pretty much gravel or grass or dirt or something not great.
We're looking here. Hopefully that doesn't invalidate their lap time. The 8:58 was up by a second coming out of the hairpin, and now after Spoon is down at, or is at 7/10 up. So let's see if they can have a really good Casio here. Nope, it must have invalidated their lap as they lift off. That's unfortunate there. On the exit of Spoon, just got a little bit wide. They were looking to go try to steal the pole time there in the McLaren. It's now the Mercedes goes and puts itself into P3. Top 3 currently separated by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, good lap from John there. Another front-engined car, but very different in the characteristics to itself to the BMW in terms of the body shape and the weight distribution. So that was a good lap from the 96 there to pop itself so close to the front too.
Of course, our current pole setter, we were talking about this during the GT4 session. They made the move from GT4 to GT3 this year. They ran the entirety of the 2021 GRG eSports Endurance Championship in the GT4 BMW and elected to graduate into the GT3s. And then, of course, our champions last year, they made the move from GT3 down to GT4 last year to round out the championship, and then move back up now to GT3 this year and are looking to try and contest. Of course, a part of the reason why we see the grid being a lot of BMWs as well, it's a 3-race championship. You got to pick one car for all 3 races. You cannot change. You can't change classes, can't change car. That resets your points. So that's another reason as to why we see a lot of these BMWs is people who are picking their car for Bathurst, people who are picking their car for Imola, not necessarily just Suzuka. So that is also something to keep in mind, and it's going to help with this as a Mercedes to the top of the board now. 201.1 taking it away from Gavin Moore. Now the top 4 separated by just 0.2 of a second. As the 445 puts themselves into what was 3rd and then immediately got beat and pushed down to 4th.
Yeah, you could even extend that to top 5 within just over 0.3 of a second. Slight gap then to P6 and the rest of the field, but that said, the top 8 all within the second. Top 9 dead on the second. Now it's very tight at the front indeed.
Let's see if Gavin Moore has any sort of contest back coming through Spoon now. A little bit wide on the exit. He's running a dead heat with his fastest lap. So let's see if he can find something through Casio. All he needs is a 0.5 of a tenth, and he can try to steal back pole. Going through 130R. Lots of speed in this corner. Obviously, it's nearly flat. I don't know if it's quite flat. It could be in the qualifying trim, but I think in race trim, it's a light lift in these GT3s. And definitely a very difficult corner. One where you can lose a lot of time, but not one where you can gain a lot of time. As coming down to the line, still looking at a dead heat, at least per the spreadsheet. Let's see, comes across to the pole. Just barely beating his previous lap time and just barely beating out the pole. 1/100th of a second separating the top 2 now.
Yeah, that is ridiculously close. The top 9 now within that 1 second barrier, and then the rest of the field all the way down to the P16, all incredibly close. We're waiting for some better times from the bottom 3 teams, but I assume they're just getting in their out laps and getting used to the conditions. Good to see the Nissan GTR currently P at 11 right now, 1.1 seconds off the field. That 23 car. Team name Sakura, which is what my MX-5 is called, so that's interesting. I'm going to be rooting for them this entire season.
Yep, we have found Dom's favorite team. We're gonna have to get a message out to them to like slap your face somewhere, or a Mod Pizza sticker logo.
I love a Mod Pizza sticker. If they still existed in Leicester, who knows? Joined quickly by Tad. Tad, your son is on pole, but by narrowest of margins. 8 minutes left in the session. We've spoken about this briefly a moment ago. From GT4 to GT3, how are you finding the bigger BMW? Sweet. Good chat. We will wait for him to appear if he does ever appear. But the father-son duo, of course, of the Moors, hence why you all... Oh, he's there. There we go. He's somewhat there.
He's extremely quiet. He's there, but inaudible,
Hello,
unfortunately.
you there?
So we're
Not too sure. Oh,
riding
pressure's
on
up.
board here with Simon Bauer in the 78. They're also looking at a dead heat on their lap time right now as they're trying to go and improve their lap themselves up from P3, possibly going to take second or first. It'd be hard to narrow yourself in between first and second here. There's such a small margin there. I mean, just 100th of a second. It'd be hard to get just P2 without also taking pole. So looking to try to improve on the exit of Spoon. A little bit of a slide. That's going to cost them a little bit of time, I think. As they're going to come down now towards 130R. The big lumbering BMW trying to sneak its way around. And I don't think that they're going to have a shot unless they pull something huge out in Casio's. And it looks like they went all 4 tires off there, so it may have invalidated the lap anyways. Riding those curbs huge. Coming down on the exit. Got to try to carry all your speed. Don't scrub it off too much. You want to stay tight, but you also don't want to have too much rotation in the wheel. They're looking dead heat right now on their lap time. Let's see if they have any sort of improvement. Cross the line. Not quite. Not quite an improvement. That time
Close.
by.
So
Ooh,
close.
we cut over there. A huge slide for the 445. That's going to throw away their lap time. They were in the green coming through Sector 1. 6 minutes remain here. Everyone maybe has one more set of tires, so they have one more shot to go and try to take back the pole.
Indeed, new pole time. Indeed, it's a 5:08 then from CB from a 2:01.085. So we're so close to the 2 deads at the moment. Yeah, it just gets ever closer and closer. So the top 3 all within the same tenth of a second currently. Currently in the pits, the 445. The 717's just returned from the pits, so presumably on a new set of tyres, as well as has the 858, which has set a personal best on its previous lap as well.
As of right now, both Gavin Moore and Chris B here are both up by 2/10. Of course, Chris B just got done with Sector 1. Gavin is just behind him in Sector 1. So we're going to watch these 2 cars come along not too far apart from each other, both in the green, as Gavin appears to have been held up now as he just threw away 1 second on the exit of the S's going down through the Degners, but still up in the green right now. Chris B, who just took pole, now looking to try to get into that 2-0s. Oh, and speaking of 2-0s, mega lap from Damien DeGrassi just shatters the pole time. A full second down. A 2-minute .2.
I'd spoken to John earlier in the week, or maybe last week, saying that there's going to be a big upset with who his teammate would be. And when I found out it would be Damien, known him from a few other leagues, yeah, I didn't realize he'd be in qualifying. I thought it'd be just John for this one, but yeah, didn't see that his name appeared, and not too surprised by that name to be to that time. To be honest, he's a quick peddler no matter what he gets, and he's just one of those lucky people, I guess. But yeah, an extraordinary time to go, 8 tenths quicker than anyone else, and I don't see that being beat right now.
And he's currently up by half of a second through Sector 1, coming down now towards the hairpin. It's shrunk its way down to just 3/10 on the gap. He's going to try to roll his way through the hairpin. Nice clean run there. Actually gained a couple tenths through the hairpin. Let's see if he can improve and get down into the 159s, perhaps, in this Mercedes. Mega from Damien DeGrassi, just crushing. I mean, we did just see there, Crispy did improve very slightly in the 805. We also have a McLaren now up into P3, so we have 3 different cars on the podium at the moment. But nothing is going to hold a light to this lap. I don't think anyone's going to have anything to contest for pole after that monster.
Yeah, that was just
huge slide through 130R there. Let's see if he can keep a hold of it. He's currently up by 3/10 coming into Casio. It'll be just enough to put him into the 159 mark. So he does have a Mercedes in front of him. He doesn't want to have too much understeer here. Oh, and off the track. He was up by 7/10 after Casio. So there's still a lot of time for him in that lap. That's insane. That Mercedes must be hooked up right now.
He's going to have one more chance after this, 3 minutes on the clock. So you can take a cool lap for this one, dust off those tyres, get everything back under control for one final attempt at the depth of the session. Like you say, CB obviously improving, and I'm sure everyone else is improving marginally. But to find 8 temps in 3 minutes, I don't know if that's going to happen without a considerable tow from multiple people possibly. But stranger things have happened, and we'll wait and see. But we'll see if that gap can get any closer. The top 16 then within 2.5 seconds, which is lovely and close as we always like it.
Want some context on how mega that lap was going to be from Damien Degrassi? Even with that off, the lap time that he set would have been good enough for 5th place. Even with the off in the final corner, he would have been 5th. That's insane.
Yeah, it shows how...
When the 858 improves, now going up into 2nd place. So now we have a Mercedes, McLaren, and then BMW top 3. Sliding away on the time. Chris B also slides the time down a little bit. So the track is getting grippier. We can see we're now into optimum track levels. And the temperature has also come up 2 degrees Celsius since the start of the session. So perhaps if you got your tire pressures incorrect, and if you got the car set up ready to go, you might be able to set a pretty mega lap here. As we mentioned, it seemed like the fastest laps set on the game at all are 158. It's huge off here for back-to-back cars. Lots of smoke getting thrown up. I'm trying to keep an eye out, see if anyone's improving on their lap time. The 82 is looking to come across here 4/10 quicker, but not going to be enough to improve their position. While the 42 is also looking to be 4/10 up here as they're coming down the back straightaway. I'm not sure if there's an official name for that, but through 130R, looking to improve their lap time. Could jump a few spots here if this lap is valid and set. They could jump all the way up to 8th or 9th with the current gap that they're looking at. Let's see if they can get a good exit out of Casio. A little bit of a slide on the exit. The wheel spin in the Lexus with its big V8. 4/10 up on the split right now. They come across the line up to 8th. There it is. That's a big jump for Sebastian Elmstrom there, right at the end of the session, and still has one more lap to go. Gavin Moore up by 5/10 now, coming down towards Spoon. Let's see if he can improve and maybe put himself into P2 and get another BMW up towards the top. Damien Grassi is already going faster, but at this point, who knows what to expect with that team.
Yeah, anything could happen indeed. A couple more improvements as Bauer now crosses the line, goes to P4. Good couple in temps improvement, about 2 or 3 temps. Shows him up the order then to P4. This time's coming down once again, and yeah, coming to the depth of the session. Everyone is, like you said, a couple of people going off at the same place. I think people are just pushing just that little bit too much now as they go into the final moments. They really don't have much to lose if they're happy with a position they've got themselves into. You might as well take a risk or two as that session does come to a close. It'd be Gavin Moore the first to cross the line as he does so. Now we'll wait and see if that's an improvement or not.
Green, there he is, P2.
2 seconds, but still half a second away from Damien Degrassi.
Chris B on a valid lap right now, currently dead heat going through Sector 1. He is not up on his split time, so there is a chance for him to be able to go and contest with Gavin Moore, but he does have some traffic in his way. He's going to want to see them get out. As we're now going to watch Damien Degrassi here going a little bit quicker through 130R, currently up by 2/10, and just maybe looking to extend the gap on the top of the field just a little bit more. Let's see, 3/10, 4/10 now through Casio, gaining lots of time there. So still a lot on the table. Alexis in the way, looking to try to stay out. Down and across the line. Let's see what he sets. It is a 159.7. So we see him break the 2-minute barrier in that Mercedes. That's going to be a fast car. It's going to be hard to contest with.
Indeed. We'll see if that pace translates into race pace over 6 hours. That's going to be a tough one to catch. The 23 then coming over the line to finish their lap. Does improve actually by a good half a second there, bringing them up to P8. So that's a good improvement to get that Nissan into the top 10. Good run by then. The 201 then, Marco, to finish his lap down. Currently P12, 2.3 off at the moment, unable to improve on his lap, and 44 and the 88 are yet to finish as well. As they come across the line now.
We had an invalid lap there from Chris B, who was looking to try and steal back P2. They were up in the green coming into Spoon, but on the exit of Spoon, they were down 3/10 and then parked the car. So I imagine they had an off there. Last car coming across the line, perhaps. There it
Moik
is.
to 11th
Does
with an
improve.
improvement. Yeah, just a single attempt there. You can see how close that gaggle is there from P10 down to P16, all within half a second or so. So that midfield is going to be a spicy fight as well.
Absolutely. From P2 down to ninth is all 1 second, and I mean we have 2 seconds separating majority of the field here. I mean Damian Negrassi is really the only outlier here, sitting at 1:59.7. Outside of that, the pace was impeccable from the field, and absolutely spectacular stuff from everybody. As we're gonna set the grid now and get ready for the next one. We'll be in next week. We'll be racing this race, and it's gonna be quite exciting for everyone. If Damian Negrassi would like to come in, or John as well, the teammate would like to come and speak on that lap, it would be greatly appreciated because I mean it's a
That's
monster
one
lap.
hell of a lap. Indeed, but we'll
Absolutely.
speak with the second placed teamed car. Tad Moore, obviously, your son there had pole, was in the top five. It was chopping and changing all the time. On your graduation to GT3, is a very good result indeed, but that lap from the 96 got to be somewhat worrying.
Um, Not unsurprising. I gotta tell you, Gavin will probably, be able to recount from his standpoint that I think that looks like normal service restored. I think we're a little bit surprised that there was as much, as many of the BMW roundels towards the top as there were, because the Merc, based on what he was seeing in some of the other testing, looked like it was just, impossibly fast. So I think 2 seconds of that time, that is showing up on the pillar today for us was found last night. Like we were, Gavin was in the 202s, and then finally came to terms with the fact that the goofy alien stuff that everybody talks about online that you do with the BMW just doesn't work if you don't drive it like a video game. If you drive it like a real car, treat it like a real car, it's on the nose constantly and it's miserable to drive around here. So when we started to try to set it up like a regular car, times came back down, and that was mega because I think he found a second last night, and to be able to get down to two flat is pretty impressive. But gee, what do you think? Is that about what you expected the Mercs to do?
Um, so it's been really hard to gauge what exact pace the Mercs have, just because all the testing I've done has either been like on this practice server where it's impossible to tell what practice regimen everyone's running, or it's been in other servers with different weather, different conditions, and the paces have been totally different. So I was expecting the Mercedes to be that fast. I don't know how they got an extra second out of the car. That's just mystical to me. But really, the pace, kind of like my dad was saying, came partly from the testing I was doing in the last day or so, and a little bit more this morning, and then half of it was just taking the fuel out of the thing. I don't really focus on quality setups. I focus on race setups and making sure that the car is drivable and fast with a full tank of fuel on it and fresh tires, and seeing how it wears down. So this is the first time I've ever really run the car with low fuel and big brake pads and all the rest of that stuff. So I'm pleasantly surprised to have put a lap together to be up in P2, but certainly not an easy affair to get there.
Yeah, that is that's for sure. And obviously, graduating as such from that GT4 to GT3, you can be playing with a lot more competition. Of course, you've been rattled around by the GT3s for the entirety of last year. Now you get to become one of them, and a very solid effort for you indeed in qualifying. And now you've got it all to do next week. It's going to be quite a challenge, I guess, for you guys, because you were sort of the front runners in GT4 for the majority of that season. Now you do have a what seems to be a very serious contender in Damien DeGrasse and John Mazurek.
So my dad might have his own personal goals, but my goal is to just rattle as many people as I can from in the GT3 field, being the GT4 driver. A lot of people a lot of people would wonder, like, well, okay, so he's fast in GT4, but how fast would he actually be in GT3? Is probably just a slowpoke or something. And I want to show that I can be a fast driver in any car. I want to upset as many people as I possibly can. Finish this thing as high as possible.
You certainly put one step forward in remarks to doing that. But thank you both for your time, and we'll see you next week for the 6 hours, and hope more preparation comes your way. If do an extra little bit of last minute preparation, maybe you'll find that extra second you need.
I got a whole week to find
Yeah,
it.
cheers.
Cheers, guys. And then
See ya.
speaking with our Victor team as such, our pole position team, John, Damien, John, you'd actually set a pretty solid lap in your first run, so I think it was good enough for at least the top 6 or so. But Damien, feel like, and this is no disservice to you, John, Damien, I feel like you're going to be the talk of the week with that sort of lap that you just put in. If either of you are there, would be lovely.
I am
One
here.
day. You are here. That's wonderful. But
I am
the
also
Merc is quick.
No, maybe.
I guess. It seems. I wasn't expecting. Well, Case was on about
It's all in the drivers, guys. Come on.
all in the drive. Of course. But yeah, John, solid lap from you to begin with. But Damien, I guess you just were able to find that little extra step up, which it's giving you a lap time which none of us thought would really be seen today. And you certainly got a target on your back now.
Now I'm actually here. I had you muted for some bizarre reason.
But qualifying, how was it for you, Ozzy? A fair few GT3s out there. Traffic and space is obviously going to be an issue, but nonetheless, you're still able to put in quite the fantastic lap there. And you guys are going to be on pole next week for 6 hours.
He actually had a 58 going and got caught up in traffic. So
Case was saying that watching the Delta times, there was time within, and obviously the mistake at the final corner as well probably didn't help things. I think, Case, what did you say? Even though with that mistake, you still would have been top 10 or something.
Top 5, even with going off track on that third to last lap, your second to last go lap, even with the off track out of Casio, still would have been 5th place on that lap, which is absolutely mega. It just says to how far up you were going into Casio. And of course, like you mentioned, the traffic that was in the way there. I think that there was a Lexus in the way, and was causing that struggle on the exit. A little bit of understeer, a little bit of a slide, and then into the grass. So easy to do at Suzuka. It's gonna be a fun track come race day with a grid of GT3s that are feisty like this, and then a couple of GT4s thrown in there. What do you guys have for your strategy and plans starting from pole now? What are you guys gonna do come race day?
It's a really complex strategy, right? Go really fast and try not to crash. That's about as far as we.
It is.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be we're debating, but I think I may start the race. He may finish, but we're still figuring that out. I think either way, we're set up for the win. That's what we want. That's
cool, isn't it? Here, I'm quite interested in the partnership, because John, you've messaged me a week or two ago saying that you were very happy with obtaining Damien. You could say you two coming together. How does that come about? How did you two become teammates?
I think it was race room is where I noticed his times, and
that's where I know Damien from. Exactly.
Yeah. So that was pretty much it. Just trying to put the two
fair enough
best drivers I could together. You know what I mean? Try to win.
Try to win, and that's what we'll hope to see you guys do. But until then, we'll bid you farewell and hope you have a good rest of your week. And we'll see you next Saturday for 6 hours of racing around Suzuka.
I don't know if you know this or not, but Damien is a fellow Englishman of yours.
One of many brilliant racers. Hence why you put it on pole. I had no doubts.
For the motherland.
Motherland, indeed.
We'll see you next, whenever the race is next week.
Next Saturday, indeed. Yeah, thank you for your time, you two. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
And just like that, we are done here today. We appreciate all of you for hanging out in the Twitch chat, all of you who have showed up for the race, all of you who have signed up. It's going to be a fun one come next Saturday. 6 Hours of Suzuka, first round of the Spring Endurance Championship. And we are going to see some spicy racing, hopefully all across the field. And we are going to have a fun championship. Of course, again, the 6 Hours of Suzuka, February 12th. The 6 Hours of Bathurst, March 12th. And the 4 Hours of Imola on April 9th will all contest for one championship. And there will be a winner in each class. And we look forward to this structure, and we hope to see a very well-filled grid, especially come Bathurst. It's going to be a fun one with race 2 in the series. Suzuka next week. It's going to be a fun one. We hope to see all of you return, all of you be back in the Twitch chat, having a good time, having some fun, and we will see you all then. Until next time.